Hi, parents and students from Writing for Muggles. I wanted to take a few minutes and just review what we went over yesterday during the first class because it went by really fast and there have already been some questions. So since I won't see you for another week, I wanted to just do a hopefully no more than 5-minute review. So the first thing we did was get to know one another, and I gave them a 2-page purple handout, which I haven't figured out how to do the fancy screen sharing with vlogs yet. So I'm just going to show you the physical copy of the 2-page procedures and guidelines that we went over. And at the back of it, there's a place for you to sign that you've read it, parents. So students, make sure your parents read through the document with you and you can talk through it with them and sign it and get that back to me. The next thing that we did was, as part of our going through the procedures, we set up our notebooks. And I'm going to show you my son's notebook. And it has, I told them to put the procedures in the front, at least for now. They can move that back later on. They won't need to reference it continuously. We're going to do a quick write every week, and so their first tab needs to be for their quick write. That'll just be a few-minute prompt at the beginning of class. The next tab is, should say, construction skill, and that's where we're going to do sort of a grammar or vocab building skill, and they're going to have one each week. Now, they were all setting up their tabs, so not all of them had a chance to record the first construction skill. So if your child is in the same position that my child is in, don't worry. I'm going to put a list of all our construction skills for the whole year on their Google Classroom. I have not done it yet, but that will be an accumulating list, so they'll have one each week, and I'll give you what the rule was and what the example that we gave in class. So your child, if they did fill it in, it should be about capitalization and punctuation. The third tab is a correction skill, and that's something that they will learn to do in editing their own work and the work of others. So the correction skill, which also some students didn't have a chance to record, we did that on the whiteboard, but if your student didn't have a chance to record that, or if they're a slow writer, I did tell them that I would put them all online so they would have a chance during the week to record those, and they can just list them as they go. Each week put the date and the number, and this week we talked about underlining the titles of full-length works, like the title of a book, for example, Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone should be underlined, and if you're typing, you have an option to either italicize or underline full-length works. And one student did ask about putting quotation marks around, and I added that those should only be around poems and shorter works like short stories, but that won't be a required piece of knowledge yet. That's just an extra thing your student may have written down. The fourth tab and final tab that they have to have is the writing tab, and that's for longer homework assignments for writing. There has been a question about, I have talked about sometimes for level 1 assignments being due on Sunday nights. Sunday night assignment deadlines will only be for major pieces of writing, like a paragraph or a paper that we've been working on for a couple of weeks that I want to be able to grade and return before the next class. But for the most part, our assignments will just be due the next week. So this week they have a writing assignment of doing either a letter in the style of Harry's Hogwarts Invitation or writing a song like the Hogwarts School Song. So they can do that and put that as the first entry in their writing section. And then my son has added a drawing tab, and that's not required. Your students have also been given a weekly guide, and of course the first one that I gave them wasn't correct, so I've already updated it online in their Google Classroom. I forgot to put the information about their grammar homework assignment, but it's been updated, and so I encourage kids when I give them their weekly handout to put it in the front view binder of their notebook. And I'll always let you know if I do forget something and you need to print a new copy at home. But they're supposed to read or revisit, if they've already read, chapters 1 through 8. They're supposed to annotate 2 good sentences from each chapter of those 8. Well, they might not know what a good sentence is at this point. Just do your best, kids. Find something that's a good description or funny or you like the words in it. It really doesn't matter. I'm just trying to get you to look at the sentence a little more closely than you might have when you read it as a story. And then I want you to put in some comments about how you feel about things. Feel about characters, setting, spooky. Like I said, you can say, wow, or I hate this, or I can't believe it, or Dudley's such a jerk. Whatever you feel, I want you to start having an emotional reaction to things in the text. That'll give you more to write about. In your grammar books, I'd like you to try to do the first 8 pages. Now, those are going to be challenging for you. I still want you to give it a try. We'll talk more about it once we've worked on it. Next week in class, you'll understand a little more of the lesson if you've attempted the lesson. I told the students' parents that they don't have to write out everything the workbook tells them to. There's places where the workbook says to use a separate sheet of paper, and I said they didn't need to do that. I'm happy for them to just squeeze it in between. Sometimes instead of, I don't know if you can see this, but instead of writing out every word, I just crossed it out and edit it in the text. It's basically so that they're getting the experience with the language. So whatever you require as mom is what I'm going to support as teacher or even tutor. And that's maybe my last point, is that some of you have already said that the assignments are too easy and you want more. And that's for you to decide and ask me, hey, can I get a supplement, or can I get a little bit more on one topic or another that my kid is struggling with? Or some of you have said, this is a lot and my child's really struggling. And I tell your parents, kids, and I tell you that this is just a guide. So if your mom says, you know what, we've got a lot going on this week, we're just not going to do grammar this week, then that's her call. And I don't want you to feel like you need to do it to keep up with us in class. You do whatever your mom says with that, okay? This week, vocabulary is optional. We're working out the kinks with the Google accounts. And for some of you, if your Google account or if your email account is set up as a child under the age of 13, there might be some functionality issues. So that's another reason why the vocab is optional this week, because we have to work out some of the kinks. But if you get into it, yay, that's great news. Feel free to ask me any questions you might have. Sorry I went over 5 minutes. Hopefully this vlog was helpful, and maybe I'll learn how to do some of the fancy stuff, so next time it'll be even more helpful. Have a great week, and I'll see you next Tuesday.